Welcome, everyone, and thanks for joining us for a discussion on reaching more players with Xbox Cloud Gaming. My name's Gus Apostle. I'm a group program manager on the cloud gaming team.
And I'm Sean Farkas. I'm a developer working on cloud gaming.
It was almost 3 years ago exactly, Sean and I stood on the stage at Game Developer Conference in 2019 to deliver the first ever public announcement on Xbox plans and strategy for cloud gaming. I remember we stood in a room, about 150 people, press from around the world, and we talked through our vision for where we felt the industry was headed and how Microsoft was going to join the race to cloud and to cloud gaming. Now, it was there where we said, as part of that message, today we're envisioning a world where anyone can access your games on any internet-connected screen. And to achieve this vision, we knew we needed to deliver a robust platform that offers a quality gaming experience that transcends devices. Now, in that message, I told the audience that there were three things that I wanted them to walk away with. Number one, we're building a platform that'll enable you to reach your consumers at a global scale. Number two, leverage a write once, leverage on any screen strategy. And number three, no new tools and skills to achieve this. You already know how to build for this platform. It's the Xbox. The box in the cloud is the same box that's in your living room. So let's take a look at the journey that we've been on over the last 3 years and see how we've done in meeting our goals and the vision. So back in 2019, right after the Game Developer Conference, we announced our first public preview at E3, and we launched in 3 regions with 4 hero titles. Soon after, we added quite a few more titles. We added backward compat, as well as some touch-enabled titles. And then we launched our first Xbox Game Pass Ultimate Beta, limited offering to various regions around the world. And then in June 29th, 2021, last year, we launched our first open public beta on browser and coupled that on our new flagship hardware, which touts even better performance capabilities. That was really the foundational underpinnings for enabling us to go into new markets, new innovative endpoints, and new content, new compelling features. So today, we're currently in 26 regions around the world, and that includes our 4 most recent additions, which are Australia, Brazil, Mexico, and Japan. And we've seen just tremendous feedback from gamers around the world that are experiencing cloud gaming, especially in areas like Brazil, where one of our fans there wrote to us and said, "Gaming here is huge, but so are the prices. Both games and consoles are extremely expensive. Then comes xCloud. I can finally play all those high graphic games without having to spend too minimal wages on a console, and now I find gaming so much more enjoyable. I feel like I'm finally playing games like they were supposed to be played," which I think is a very powerful statement that we're delivering on the vision and meeting consumer expectations. We're also adding new endpoints. So late last year, Xbox Cloud Gaming was integrated into the Xbox PC app, and so now gamers can stream Xbox games directly to their PC. We've received a lot of great feedback on that. And we also added the capability to be able to stream games directly to your Xbox console. And a lot of excitement brewing around the fact that gamers no longer have to wait for downloads. They can just play games and try them out in succession without having to wait. One of our US fans actually wrote a Twitter post that said, "I really don't think that people who haven't experienced this can actually understand how convenient it is to just click and play on any device. No installations, no downloads." Again, another powerful statement that says we are achieving on the vision that we set out to 3 years ago. Now, we're always looking to add new, exciting, cool content titles in the gaming catalog, but we're also working on broadening the interest to the gaming community by expanding access to the content in new and innovative channels, or what we would call business models, to reach even more gamers who may not be able to have access to that content through the existing channels today. So we're thinking through a lot of the strategy there, and we're going to be talking a lot more about that as we move into the coming months. So stay tuned. You'll hear much more about opportunities for getting connected on cloud gaming. And then last, I'll just mention that we've landed over 100 touch-enabled titles. So that means gamers around the world that really enjoy playing Xbox content but don't have a controller can actually enjoy those games with glass controls. And many of those games have custom glass controls that are tailored to the exact game, making it even more fun and easy to play. So I think this is a good opportunity to turn it over to Sean, and I'd love to hear more about, as our audience would probably, about some of the advancements that we've done for Cloud Aware, and hopefully see some of the cool titles that are using it today in the catalog.
Thanks, Gus. So as Gus has been saying, we started out building a game streaming service, which is built upon fundamentally just putting Xboxes in the cloud. And what that means is your existing Xbox content, it's generally going to run without any modification. But in 2019, we presented the outline for an API set that would additionally and optionally allow you to integrate your game deeply with Xbox game streaming. And today, that API set is available and shipping in the GDK, along with the tools you can use to build and test your game streaming features. These APIs let you do things like build touch controls for your game. You can detect that someone has started or stopped streaming and react to that. Maybe you trigger an autosave when you notice that someone is disconnected from their streaming session. You can react to the size of your player's device, making your UI look great on everything from a small mobile screen to a large PC monitor. You can even measure the current latency of the game and react to that, perhaps hiding some of that latency for the player. The content test application used for game streaming is now freely available on xbox.com/play/devtools, which enables anyone with a dev kit to be able to connect to a stream and test how their game currently runs when it would be streaming on Xbox Game Streaming. In the coming talk, my colleagues Carla Lareva and Milena Gonzalez are going to go into deep detail about how you might get set up with that, how you would get your dev kit connected to your browser, how you would build these touch layouts, and the tools and APIs would be in place for you to light up your game. However, today, I'd like to go and look a little bit deeper into some of the games that we've already shipped that take advantage of these APIs. And like I'll say, every one of these games is shipping currently. You can right now go to xbox.com/play and try out all of the experiences we're about to talk about yourself. Now, the most basic way for a game to take advantage of being on the cloud is to use the Touch Adaptation Kit to build touch controls for your game. Now, the Touch Adaptation Kit allows you to define a set of touch layouts for your game without modifying any of your code. It works by taking a touch control layout that you define and rendering it in the game streaming app. The app then uses your layout to translate touches into gamepad inputs that get sent back to the game. As far as your input code is concerned, the player is using a gamepad. There's no need to write any code that understands touch at all. In this example, Sea of Thieves is playable using touch controls, even though internally, the game has no idea it's being driven by touch. Instead, all of the touch input handling is done on the player's device and interpreted according to the control layout provided by Rare. And we have well over 100 games that have been built using the Touch Adaptation Kit. Games ranging from Banjo-Kazooie to Empire of Sin, The Gunk, and Slay the Spire. And the Touch Adaptation Kit comes with a set of built-in icons that you can use with your game. However, it's also possible to provide custom artwork to really spruce up the controls. The artwork can react to different interactions on the controls. You can have different art for when a player is pressed and released a button, for instance. And that really helps make these controls integrate deeply with your game's visual style. It makes it feel like it's a natural part of your game's interface, rather than something that's just layered over the top. You can see here, New Super Lucky's Tale took advantage of custom art by drawing semantic icons that are more in the style of their game than the default icons. They use Lucky's hand and tail to overlay over the top of their controls. Hades does this in a different way. They take advantage of the familiar Xbox face buttons, but they draw them in a way that really fits in with that title's art style. Another game that uses custom artwork includes Minecraft Dungeons, which uses the custom art to match the visual language of Minecraft. Instead of the circular shapes that the Touch Adaptation Kit uses by default, Minecraft Dungeons provides artwork with hexagons and squares, and that really makes the controls feel like they fit in perfectly with the game that's being played. And of course, you can customize all the art on your touch layout, again, without modifying any code in your game. Now, once you get started building touch layouts, you'll probably very quickly find that there's just different sections of your game that play better with different layouts. For example, Yakuza Like a Dragon uses 6 different layouts depending upon what you're doing in the game. Nearly the full set of controls is available in combat. The left stick and the D-pad share prominence with the face buttons to allow you to easily navigate your party and choose what actions you'll take in battle. But when you walk around each intro, the face buttons have less prominence. They're replaced by semantic icons, with the right stick becoming more prominent in that layout. In addition, the context-sensitive icons change to indicate the left stick is no longer used for navigating the party. Instead, it's used for walking around the city. In the photo and map modes, only a small subset of buttons are needed. Removing the unnecessary controls really makes the screen much less cluttered, so you can see more of the scene you're photographing, or more of the details of the map in order to examine your current objectives. And making these changes is as easy as one line of code in your game. The game simply tells the streaming app which layout makes sense at any given time. If you're walking down the street in Yakuza Like a Dragon and a battle scene starts, the game simply sends a message that says, "Now, please put up the battle controls." And that's it. You don't have to check to see if your game is streaming. You don't have to check to see if you're on a touch-capable device. In either of those cases, the API call just acts as a no-op. Another really great use of dynamic layout switching is to remove the controls that might provide distractions during a cutscene. Here, you can see how Scarlet Nexus uses this capability to remove almost all of the controls from the screen when their cinematics start, leaving only the skip button in place. There's also an API call to remove the touch controls from the screen entirely if that's more appropriate for your game. And by doing this, it really enables the player to focus on your cinematic instead of being distracted by control overlays. Another really advanced feature we have available is to dynamically change the layout in response to the current game state. So let's use an example. The Squid Coast level of Minecraft Dungeons is a tutorial for the game's mechanics. You walk through that level with initially only the ability to swing your sword and move around. And ideally, we wouldn't have touch controls for a bunch of actions that have not yet been introduced to the player on screen. So what the game does is therefore initially starts out with just the movement and melee controls. But when the player gets the bow and gets a ranged attack, the bow icon appears. And similarly, the first time the player picks up an artifact, X, Y, and B appears to allow them to use items out of their inventory. Now, one way to do this is to have multiple different layouts, each one successively adding new controls until the full set's available. And while that does work, it really doesn't scale very well. It involves a lot of duplication of layout code, and that makes it much harder to change your layouts in the future. So another alternative is to use a feature we have called variable replacement. What this does is it allows you to toggle certain features of touch controls from within the game, managing things like control visibility directly from within your code. Using this feature, Minecraft Dungeons could go ahead and have all of the buttons on its single layout and just toggle the visibility of the ones that were initially hidden to make them visible as it becomes appropriate within the level. You can also use this feature to change the icons on a control. Maybe you swap the art in a button to reflect the weapon that's currently equipped, or to even change what the button does entirely. And one common use case for this is if your game allows remapping of controls. If your default is that jump is A and the player has switched it so that they prefer to have jump on B, you can send a message to your layout to say that jump button should set a gamepad B now instead of the A that it used to set. In addition to building touch layouts using the Touch Adaptation Kit, you can also get touch points directly in your game in order to build a really, truly native touch experience. And what this does is it allows you to build things such as menus that you can naturally tap on, maps that you can pinch and zoom around, inventory screens that you can scroll through and drag and drop on. Your game is just generally usable using natural mobile gestures that your players are all used to when they're on their mobile device. And in fact, Football Manager 2022 takes advantage of these capabilities to be entirely controlled by players' touch inputs. This makes it feel and play like a truly native mobile experience when it's being streamed on xCloud. So we've talked a lot about touch controls, but there's actually many other things you can do with the APIs available for working with Xbox game streaming. For example, Minecraft Dungeons scales its user interface to make it easier to use when it's being streamed. You can see the difference here when the game is being played on a local Xbox on the left and being streamed on the right. The buttons are made much larger to make for larger hit targets on a smaller mobile device. The tooltips suggesting that you press controller buttons to interact with the menu have been removed. A button is added to the top corner of the screen to enable you to exit the menu without having to press the B button on a controller you may not have. The GDK offers an API to measure the size of your game as it appears on the player's screen, and an API to figure out if the player has a touch-capable device that you're streaming to. Those APIs in coordination allow you to build experiences such as the one that Minecraft Dungeons has built here. But they didn't stop there. Minecraft Dungeons took yet another step. Again, on the right, you can see the game being streamed, and on the left, being played on a local Xbox. And notice that when the game's being played on a touchscreen, several of the items from the hotbar at the bottom of the screen, the map and the inventory prompts, for instance, are moved out of that hotbar and into the touch layout. And what does that do? Well, it sets it up so that the hotbar has fewer items in it and can be rendered larger, which means that on a smaller screen, you can take more advantage of screen space to show the player important things, such as weapon cooldown and item mapping. Additionally, there's actually more screen space real estate available for the game because you're not duplicating things. There aren't two map icons on the screen, there's only the one in the touch layout. Now, there's other advanced features you can take advantage of as well, including the ability to measure and react to the current latency of the game. Now, in order to minimize that latency, as Gus mentioned, we really build upon Azure's global footprint to make sure your game is being played as close as possible to your player. Speed of light is what it is, however, and there's going to, of course, be some stream added latency. And the GDK includes APIs to measure this added latency and allowing you to react to it in game. So for example, Gears 5 uses this latency measurement API in order to adjust the active reload window. And what that does is it makes the player feel like they have a fair chance to hit that active reload bonus, even though there might be some additional latency between them and the game that in a traditional mechanic might have thrown them off. As you can see, there's a variety of ways that you can optimize your game for streaming. You can do everything from adding touch controls with no code modifications at all, such as Sea of Thieves did, to building a full native touch interface like Football Manager 2022. You can use different layouts for different points in your game, like Yakuza Like a Dragon and Scarlet Nexus do. You can scale your UI to have it work great on all different device sizes, such as Minecraft Dungeons does. You can even measure and react to different latency conditions, similar to what Gears 5 does. But what do you get for doing all this work? Well, our data shows that 20% of xCloud players use touch controls exclusively. And that really helps us understand the fact that games which optimize to play on mobile devices actually see a 2x increase in the amount of time being played on game streaming. And that's across all genres of game. Further, our user feedback shows that games that are enhanced get user feedback that's typically better than, but at least as good as, games which are not optimized for streaming. So Gus, why don't you wrap us up and bring us home?
Yeah, thanks, Sean. Really great job at showing us how cloud aware and touch adaptation are really changing how gamers experience games when they're playing them in the cloud and playing on multiple devices. So at the beginning of this session, I mentioned there were 3 messages that I wanted the folks back in 2019 to take away from that talk. So let's see how we did. Number 1, build a platform which enables you to reach your consumers at a global scale. Check. Today, Xbox Cloud Gaming has enabled you to bring your games to markets around the world and reach gamers on all devices. Number 2, enable a write once, leverage anywhere strategy. Check. Now you can build your games once, and gamers can choose which screens they want to leverage that game on. And then number 3, leverage the existing skills and tools that you already have to build on this platform. Nothing new to learn. Check. You've already know how to build on this platform, and you've delivered some amazing content. And now players will be able to play your games more often, in more places, on any internet-connected screen. So both John and I want to say thanks for spending some time with us today in seeing the journey that we've been on, what we've been able to achieve, and also a peek into where we're headed in the future. So stay tuned, a lot more coming. Thank you for listening, and enjoy your GDC.